Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive Live. This is an emergency episode. I'm not even doing the dang music and the uh-oh and all that to start off the show. We're just hitting the skids right away. Getting here, of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game, with my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, perhaps one of the more less shocking headlines regarding the Jacksonville Jaguars took place today on the dreaded Black Monday, that it is the first of the Monday firings, of course, being Doug Pederson, my dude, half always loyal, jumping in this organization. I know what he's referring to. We'll get to that in a minute, but listen, let's get into it a little bit. Doug Pederson, 3 seasons in, 22-29 record. I know sooner than later you'll have something out there on BigCatCountry.com, as will I for Fans for a Sports Network.
Already
but
out.
Yeah. You did the thing. No, I get it. Someone got jokes. Lon to be. Y'all want Jared Mayo.
so
someone got jokes.
Let's let the folks know who don't know. Doug Pederson, Jacksonville Jaguars head coach for the past 3 seasons, has obviously been fired. That's obviously why you're looking at us today this early morning on Black Monday. But
let's break in with this, man, because I want to get this opinion out there for somebody that can explain it, knows it better than me, because you've been in the coaching ranks at college level and know a little bit about the machinations, so to speak, of what's going on. But okay, Dougie P comes in 22-29 record overall, 2 winning seasons, playoff wins, some in there. I guess we're asking less what went wrong and now what the Jags hope to gain by parting with them. How do they feel like? What is it they feel like they can improve going somewhere else?
Well, this is the interesting thing. Like, obviously, Doug Pederson, just in very many ways, was unsuccessful, we'll say, in all the ways in managing this team from 2024 and the end of 2023. And with the issues with the defensive staff that resulted in Mike Caldwell and the whole staff being for the most part, the whole staff, minus one coach being let go on the defensive side. And they needed a new fresh start on that side. And that new fresh start ended up being worse. The new fresh start in Ryan Nielsen and the defensive staff in this way, they just objectively in every measurable category has been worse in 2024. That's not great. That's normally how this goes. Is you fire one of the coordinators. If that doesn't work, to change it around, the head coach goes, or maybe if you can find another way, you fire the offensive coordinator, but he is the offensive coordinator in very many ways. So this is the obvious end result, and this is kind of the end result we've known was going to take place since 7 weeks, 8 weeks into the season when this thing started going ugly. You kind of knew it then after the London trek that this was kind of where we were with Doug Pederson. There was just going to be a conversation or a question on Trent Baalke. And that's another conversation. I'm not as mad as a lot of other people, and I guess
we're going to get to that. Don't spoil the episode. I want to finish here with the wrap up on Doug, because there's definitely one more question I want to get to you, just because I'm genuinely curious. I kind of have my thoughts, and maybe your answer will be as boring as what I think the answer is. But why retain him at the bye then? Should this have already been done?
Well, I mean, it seemed, and per a few of the reports, that Shad Khan was not excited about the other options that we have available on the Jacksonville Jaguars, in the Jacksonville Jaguars coaching staff. As far as you got Mike McCoy, who's a former head coach, but realistically, that's just not happening. Like, it's not really going to be beneficial for your star quarterback, who wasn't injured at the time, at least, when they were talking about making this decision. And maybe, a Chris Richards or, Ryan Nielsen. But again, the defensive staff is already struggling. I mean, mightily struggling this season. That's not the kind of person you're then promoting to another position to give them more responsibilities and kind of other people with more responsibility downstream. So I guess they kind of felt stuck at that point. You got to keep him for the rest of the season. And it's kind of respectful to Doug at that point. I want to make sure I just allow him to finish up this season and just kind of just do his own thing versus saying he was fired in the middle of a season, which Shad Khan seems to reserve for only the most extreme situations, a la Urban Meyer, something along those lines, or if the NFLPA is involved, something along those lines. So that's kind
so
of
the short version is just kind of Shad Khan's style, which is kind of what I thought the answer was, but I didn't know if you had another thing to put on it. Well, listen, let's give the commenters what they want here, because Doug being fired being as unsurprising as it is, there are certainly some unhappy people. I love the way that have put it. Littlefinger survives again. That's right. Peter Baelish, aka Trent Baalke, being retained. Some of it coming in here. Our friend Robert in the comments all the time, Khan is an idiot. I hope Ben Johnson of the Lions can get rid of Baalke. We'll talk more about that later. Mike Barber comes in. How does the organization operate with the GM in name only? Does Baalke just operate directly with players? And the new HC handles reports with Shad. Then Shad goes to Baalke, then back to the players. In other words, he's setting. Yeah, we have to cover that. So
yes, he's asking the questions, the right questions.
And before we jump to that, let's get to the simple one. Why retain Baalke? What is the positive? And I get it. Don't just tell me, oh, well, he drafted Brian Thomas. Yes, I know that's part of it. But, I'll put it this way. Does it start and end with this statement for both the Pederson firing and the Baalke retention, right? Does it start with this is the best team we've assembled here? Of course, I'm paraphrasing Shad Khan himself going into the season, his thoughts on this roster. Is that kind of a microcosm of what we saw here? This roster was here, Doug. You couldn't do it. Trent, at least you put it together. You stay in the building. Is that kind of the root of it, or am I out of my mind?
No. Actually, I think personally, and I know I'm in the minority on this, but I've said this to multiple people, and I'm like, only reason I haven't even put it out there is because I just don't want to put I'm not a believer of putting screen prints of messages with other people out there. But I agree with you. I have all the receipts to multiple people. Some of these people in this comment thread right now saying, hey, man, I believe Doug's going to be fired on Black Monday. I believe it's going to take them a few weeks to even take a true look at Trent Baalke to figure out whether they're going to do it. My hope is that they fire them both on Black Monday, because it just makes obvious sense from just a serious organization as far as doing things in the right order. But that does not seem to be the way that Shad Khan operates. It just doesn't. I mean, and that could be because he's just not a football guy or whatever you want to categorize that under. But at the end of the day, this seems like it's going to be very similar to that Byron Leftwich interviewing cycle that resulted in us hiring Doug Pederson. They're going to hire and interview all these different coaches, come to the conclusion of how they feel about working with certain general managers, or they have someone they want to bring in, and then at that point decide maybe, okay, yeah, we'll bring in this combination of general manager, head coach, or we're going to stick with Trent Baalke and have him work with fill in the blank person who's actually willing to work with them if they're in our top 1 to 2 people. So it's quite possible. Maybe someone like a Liam Cohen, who doesn't have as extensive as a history as an offensive coordinator, may be willing to work with Trent Baalke, whereas you have Ben Johnson, who may be interested in having his own GM. And then maybe Shad is like, well, they're close enough as far as Ben and Liam that I will just stick with Trent and let him finish out his contract, and we'll see what happens from there. That's the conversation that's going to be taking place over these next few weeks, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and the question, as Mike put it, with all the how is it going to work day to day, I think you addressed very nicely there. It's less about Shad wanting control and finding a workaround with these fools I shouldn't say these fools, these reasonable-minded people that don't want to work with this fool Peter Baelish, right? Because to Shad's credit, if this is really what he's planning to do, to have the head coach report directly to him, this is his way of getting around the Byron Leftwich problem, where he refused to come in because Baalke was there, right? This is his way to solve the problem of people not working with Baalke. Well, hey, work with me instead. Because, that's the better. Who do I work with? Peter Baelish or the eccentric billionaire? That's a hell of a choice, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure how much more appealing that is or isn't. Let me get into some of these comments here.
But there are arguments, there are arguments that obviously Trevon Walker, a number 1 draft pick, and BTJ have salvaged and or saved
Anton Harrison.
Maybe, but I don't know if I can put Anton Harrison on the Trevon Walker playing level, performance level just yet. He's been fine. He's been solid. He's been maybe even above average or somewhere in
You
that
got a
range.
starting offensive lineman for something that was the weakest part of the field. Like if anybody's when Trent Baalke is campaigning to the eccentric billionaire, that's going to get his attention, I feel like. You know what I'm saying?
Trent Baalke is campaigning to the eccentric non-football knowing billionaire. Yes, sure.
My point is made. There you go. You landed the plane there nicely, Travis T. Holmes. So,
yeah.
well, let me a couple things you addressed too. Hef brings up a good example. Andy Reid was hired by the Chiefs, and he told them to get rid of Scott Pioli. So there is precedent of some sort. Granted, hey, listen, but I don't know what guy you're getting. That's Andy bleeping Reid. You know what I'm saying? Ben Johnson's fun and everything, but you
never know, bro. You never know if Ben Johnson's going to be the next McVay. It may not be Andy Reid, but okay, cool. But if he could be the next McVay, the next Shanahan, I know that's tough for you to hear, Shanahan, but still.
I got no beef. Why am I mad about? Am I supposed to be mad about Kyle Shanahan as the 49ers coach?
I thought so. Personally, if he hadn't won that Super Bowl, then I might have some feelings on him, but I'm not judging you and your fandom. I'm just commenting on.
I got no beef with. Listen, the only reason he hasn't made it San Francisco is Patrick LeVon Mahomes II. Let me be clear. So,
all right, cool. Cool.
Like that's what I said.
So at the end of all of this, man, it's this Doug Pederson, Trent Baalke kind of situation was never going to work, and it was a bad melding of minds from the start, and we all knew it. Let's be honest. Yeah. No one wanted Trent Baalke. No one was beating down the door to hire Trent Baalke initially. But again, Trent Baalke has done himself some favors in certain draft picks. But I wanted to make clear in saying, so did Dave Caldwell. Let's not think that too far. Dave Caldwell screwed over a few drafts. But overall, he had some picks. He had, a Jalen Ramsey. He had a Josh Hines Allen in those picks. So a few picks does not make a good GM, especially if you're losing a boatload of funds in free agency and just not building a good product. But Trent Baalke built himself a solid enough argument to make someone who was a non-football watching or a non-football,
an eccentric
consumer
billionaire.
like the rest of us. Yes.
See, and that captures both. To call him an eccentric billionaire, not only are we establishing he may not know football, he's certainly not one of us. You know what I mean? So
that's what I mean. He's not someone who consumes football in the ways that we do. And he goes to the games, but yeah, this is his secondary item when we're all in on this. So that's the piece. He's made enough of a sales point to be able to say, maybe I'll stick on for these few weeks and see what the other coaches say. See if we can find somebody who can work well with me again for the third time. His third hire of a head coach in Jacksonville. In Jacksonville would be wild if it gets to that point.
I remind you, 6th all time. Only one winning coach has Trent Baalke ever hired. We've talked about this both on our respective sites, Big Cat Country Fans for Sports Network. And that is the guy, by the way,
he ran out.
Yeah, and that's the one he ran out, who went on to not only win a national championship, but is getting to the Chargers to the damn playoffs his first year. Certain element of irony that Doug Pederson's first playoff victory is now has a coach that their first Chargers. There's a whole lot of things going on, more involving Kyle Shanahan as well, too, because that's the whole 49ers situation getting tied in there. There's a lot of things going into it here. Let's get to some more comments here, too. We went off on a bit of a tangent there. OJ Hodges in the comments makes a good point that I meant to, and I haven't yet, but he does it in more of a fan style. This is ridiculous. What the hell Baalke has on Shad? I don't get, and again, we touched on it, but I struggle to see what Shad digs about Baalke, right?
I don't know that it's specific to Baalke. That's the craziest part about this. So picture you build an organization, you built a business from the ground level up. It was a small mom and pop thing, and you built it into this great money-making machine. And the first guy that you built just happens to have more knowledge because he's just the guy. He was the guy who was there when you bought the organization. And he's an old 60-year-old guy. He just knows all the stuff, the ins and outs, the nooks and the crannies, like all the stuff that needs to be done. And he makes it easy on you. Like it's still making money. It's not successful, but it's still making money. And he keeps telling you over and over and over, hey, man, it's working out. Hey, man, it's working out. Or it's not working out because I hired this other guy, but let me get this right. Or it's not working out because this,
real quick.
Let me get this right. You know, basically, he's made himself invaluable to someone who don't know better. That's really all it comes down to. He's put himself in a prime position, in someone else's point previously, say Littlefinger. He's put himself in that prime spot where the person who just don't know better is just like, hey, man, this thing that I bought for however many hundreds of millions, it's now worth however many billions of dollars. It's obviously making money. We're obviously have the new stadium, etc. And he's made some great picks that actually have been above average to good even. And that's the sales pitch for someone like Shad Khan. It's like, hey, man, this I understand, but no, he's my guy, and we're going to back my guy because I love my guy because he knows it's nonsense, but he knows better. You know what I mean?
We may not know enough, and I like the point you make. We may not know enough about what he does kind of on the business side to help Shad do things, including, by the way, for this team, which just went, what, 4-14, 3-14? I'm counting is hard.
I got you.
But a guy that just went 3-14. A guy that just went 3-14, and you're still getting a new stadium for this franchise. That's the kind of stuff that makes an employer that's not looking at the football, but looking at the balance sheet, perk up and get attention. So you make a good point there. It's not that we agree with what's going on there, OJ. We're just trying to kind of explain the situation. So let's get some more of this therapy out here in the comments. My sister is seeking ticket holder since 2009 through Malarkey, Gus, Marone, and even Urban freaking Meyer. He was mired in Urban's bad coaching as well. That's right. Has finally had enough. It's interesting that dealing with Malarkey, he doesn't mean like, oh, Malarkey, the way that it's meant like something that's difficult and annoying. He means Mike Malarkey. Anyways,
I still say give it time, man. That's where I'm at. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'd rather be wrong. And it's weird because, again, you know me. I'm not a person that hopes. I don't live in hope land. I just don't. I'm past being a little bit pessimistic in reference to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes,
and
we've seen this team makes me drink shirt. That's right.
And even I'm saying, hey, man, just give it a few weeks. I don't know how to feel about this just yet because this has been my prediction from day one is that I didn't expect them to be out at the same time. So
and let's get to that in a minute too. I want to spend some good time on this. Let's get through a few more of these comments. Aiden Tobin says, can't support this team anymore. Shad never wants to clean houses. OJ, he always has a leftover. I think we were just talking about that. Yeah. Mike jumps in. Makes me see that statement, the Baalke best roster ever assembled thing in a new light now. Maybe Shad truly believes this was the best roster ever built for this organization. Yeah, I thought he believed it when he said it, at least, right?
Yeah, he definitely believes it.
Right. Greetings, she will not be alone. Until Baalke is gone, I am laying off from the Jags. I know it will not affect them. I'm just one fan. Yeah, well, hey, but the clown masks got people to make a movement there too. So, like, maybe this is a grassroots starting here in the Duval Dive comments. I don't know. Also heard Rausha was the guy campaigning for Harrison. Okay.
I mean, you're going to trust your O-line coach. That makes sense. Sure.
Yeah. Rob is trying to get in the grassroots movement. Everybody shouldn't renew their season tickets.
I can't blame anyone for what they do with their money, man. That's how you speak to people. That's how you speak to billionaires and trillionaires. So when that time comes, we'll see what happens.
I listen. The commenters are on fire today, dude. They're coming in more than I could keep track of them. This is this is awesome. There is one I wanted to bring attention to because this is a name I haven't heard yet. Aiden Tobin. So who is the next head coach? Anthony Weaver, if we are lucky. I've not heard that name really brought up before. Where are you at with that?
Anthony Weaver? I mean, he's the DC for the Miami Dolphins. That I was shocked, and he's a former head coach, right? And I was shocked that he was even in the conversation of being in the coaching, interviews and ranks and things of that nature because he's supposedly a culture guy. And I'm just like, he's a guy who coached, and that's fine. But I don't know that but in this way, we're going to be very limited on the options that are available under Trent Baalke. But without giving too much information, there was a list of guys who I was aware of that were on Trent Baalke's radar if he's going to be the head coach. Sorry, if he's going to be the general manager. And one of those guys was not, I mean, it wasn't Anthony Weaver, but that would be someone that's likely on the list, someone who may be willing to work with him just because he's a retread in that way, and maybe a lot like the Doug Pederson situation, basically. Someone who doesn't have much of a choice, someone like Flores, someone like Scotty Montgomery, the Detroit Lions, assistant head coach and running back coach, someone like a Joe Brady, maybe even. You're limiting your pool of candidates, obviously, but they want to go through that process. It seems like the process is going to involve, hey, we have this bucket of guys, 4 or 5 guys, whatever it is, that would be willing to work with Trent Baalke. And we have this bucket of guys, these 2 or 3 guys who are just saying, hey, I need a general manager, and it's going to be this. And I need to look at this. And whichever one sounds like it's going to be better and in more sync, obviously, and that feels like it's got to be one of the full remake over here situations. But we're just talking about Shaw, so we don't know. But maybe the hiring firm, if they hire the hiring firm, search firm, will tell him you need to go this other route, and we'll see what happens with that.
And yeah, I have another comment here. Mike Flores. Hey, listen, I'd love to see that. I just don't see that happening. Cool mention though.
Okay.
Someone else got Greg Holmes jumps in. At this point, I'll take Coach Marty Lee from First Coast High School. That's the new head coach. Well,
if it gives you a new head coach, if it gives you a new GM, sure, I can understand that.
Yeah. Well, and I want to touch on that too. Kind of the last thing I really wanted to hit is I'm not convinced the Baalke saga is over. And I say this, by the way,
right. I think he might retire. I don't know how to feel about this yet.
And I saw that come up in the comments as a joke. He might retire. I mean, I obviously it's on the table.
I don't mean it as a joke. The fact that those rumors were coming out a year ago about him potentially retiring, just based on his general age and based on the fact that you'd always rather retire or retire, come back in 2 years if you think you're close to being fired versus being fired if you think that's truly on the table. Like that could be an opportunity for Trent Baalke simply to save face, to say, hey, I'm moving forward with this guy. And after a few weeks, he's decided that he's going to retire. And because of that, we're just going to hire another general manager. That is an opportunity for Trent to save face. No different than the Jaguars allowing Doug Pederson to save face just by coaching his last few games and show that these guys are still fighting instead of firing him at the bye week. That is a respect thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this too. I feel like Baalke at 60 isn't done yet in GM years, like obviously, the when somebody's old, changes based on what piece you sit in, right? Like if somebody playing is 35, they're old. Somebody who's 60 in the NFL front office is, I'm not going to say young, but it's seemingly on par with some of the other, let's say, participants at that level, right? Again, I don't know the guy personally. I don't know what he's doing in his personal life or anything like that, but I don't feel like 60 makes retirement a true threat at the end of the day. Maybe there's some family issues with health or something out there. Maybe his health's a factor. I don't know. But yeah, on the surface,
maybe he assists with the search firm and helps with the search firm as part of the group, and then he retires or something like that. Like again, there's so many options.
You teasing Wednesday's episode. See, that's a good co-host right there. Travis T. Holmes says we as co-hosts have promised to talk about that search firm concept for a while. We'll get to that Wednesday, 7:30, of course, 7:30 Eastern PM on the Duval Dive there too. And yeah. Someone in the comments already called to cancel my season tickets this morning. See, more and more grassroots, man. It may take something like that to motivate Shot. I'll put it that way. Good to hear from you too. You too, Greg. Thanks for jumping in. We're trying to bring you as much therapy as we can this morning. Is not only are a lot of you probably heading back to work full tilt for the first time in 2025 after various holiday occasions and things like that, to see the Jags season end the way it did, to get the first real crumb of change in the right direction for 2025 already is certainly something that is a glimmer of hope for the Duval devout out there in general. So yeah, with all that in mind, folks, we're going to go ahead and let you get back to your mornings. You'll hear from us, of course, on Wednesday, 7:30, as we talk more about the coaching search in and of itself and any other news or items we got out of this. All of you have been fantastic in the comments, jumping in, giving us your takes, giving me and Travis a little bit of a laugh here too. But in the meantime, my champion, Travis Holmes, tell the world where you can be found, my friend.
Find all my writings covering the Jaguars, bigcatcountry.com. The article's already up discussing Trent Baalke and Doug Pederson and Shad Khan. Yeah, just discussing the move and kind of it gives you an opportunity to give your thoughts. So go to the comment thread, talk it up, chop it up. Everybody's already, they're definitely having some conversation there. So save it as your favorites. We'll talk about all the upcoming searches, the interview process. Any rumors that we're possibly hearing, because we do talk about rumors at Big Cat Country. We don't just talk about breaking news. So definitely take a look and follow me on all the socials. Travis D. Holmes. What about you, sir?
Man, you got to get me on that Discord group, bro. I got to catch up with some of this. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Guys, like, subscribe, get your notifications on the Duval Dive YouTube channel. We're growing that up so we can keep you informed when stuff like this happens and give you these takes and, hey, possibly even provide you with a wee bit of therapy walking through it. Of course, my writings will be on the Fans First Sports Network, not only for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but for another fan base in desperate need of maybe some physical therapy as well as mental therapy in the Orlando Magic. Also, my work covering the UCF Knights with the Black and Gold Banneret on the Night Shift podcast. I know we're going to be talking about that whooping the Kansas put on the men's basketball team yesterday. Good gravy. That was not a... hey, listen, Kansas basketball folks, they were pissed off. What can I say? Right. And then, of course, my work covering all things sport, the Student of the Game podcast returns on Wednesday night after the Duval Dive. So make sure you check that out as well. I think that's everything. So, yeah, with that in mind, for my good friend, my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes of Big Cat Country, I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. Thank you, all of you in the comments. You were awesome today. We always appreciate you, but you all came extra special big for this special emergency edition of the Duval Dive. But until next time, specifically Wednesday, 7:30 p.m., class dismissed.